This month marks almost 100 years since the death of the Russian communist leader Vladimir Lenin. Specifically, it was on January 24, 1924 that the Russian leader and revolutionary departed to the other world. Russian mythology said that a result of exhaustion caused by a hard life dedicated to the cause. In reality, it is so that it was due to cerebral arteriosclerosis. As well as this, there are a series of myths surrounding the life of this Russian revolutionary, who is considered the architect of modern Russia. If you want to know a little more about the life of this controversial character, I invite you to watch the following video. If your hippie friends tell you that he admires Lenin because he came to power by the people and for the people, let him know that he lives in error. Because Lenin was born on April 22, 1870 in a middle-class family in Tyrants, Russia. Although they were not very wealthy, they did live comfortably. He was born in Tsarist Russia, where the population was mostly peasant and scattered over thousands of square kilometers, and was ruled by an outdated aristocracy that did not understand that the world was changing and did not understand the needs of its people. By the time Lenin was born, social unrest and the ideas of Marxism were spreading with a certain freedom over Russia, and these circumstances would strongly mark Lenin's thinking. In 1917, Vladimir Lenin was appointed president of the Council of People's Commissars. In this way, he became the first and maximum leader of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics. But to understand how he reached this position, we are going to see a little bit of its history. During the end of the 19th century and the first decade of the 20th century, Russia lived practically in feudalism, with a mostly peasant population. Hunger and discontent was common. In spite of this, Tsar Nicholas II made several bad decisions that in the end were like signing his death warrant. In 1904, Russia went to war with Japan to dispute the territory of Manchuria and Korea, and when we say he went to war, we mean that the Tsar was sent to fight a peasant people with zero experience in maritime combat, and of course Russia lost. Without learning anything from the defeat against Japan, Nicholas II took his people to a new war in 1914. We refer to the First World War. The Tsar was confident that the land combat against the Germans would give them an advantage. However, the people did not have enough weapons. In 1916, Nicholas decided to command the troops himself, but soon his lack of military knowledge was evident, because his participation only made things worse. In 1917, the discount was already general, and on February 26, the revolution broke out. A series of massive marches to Petrograd, which were even joined by the Star soldiers. Nicholas II was left without many options, so while he was in a battle against the Germans, he signed his abdication to the throne. The fall of the empire marked a new beginning for Russia. The workers organized their own governments, which they called Soviets. And it is to this that the USSR owes its name. These Soviets were democratic assemblies. At last, it seemed that the average Russian citizen could make decisions about his destiny and the destiny of his nation. But this democratic dream was just a dream, because immediately a provisional government was formed headed by a Tsarist assembly and the politician Alexander Kerensky. This was an opportunity for the Tsar to redeem himself with his people, listening to them and allowing better living conditions. But he did not take it and left the government in the hands of Kerensky, who took care to maintain the privileges of the Tsar and his family and was far from accepting to give power to the people as the Soviet wanted. You may wonder where was Lenin at that time. By this time, Lenin was in exile in Switzerland. When he heard what was happening in Russia, he tried to return, but crossing Europe during the war was almost impossible. Help came from where he least expected it. Germany helped Lenin and other political exiles to return in order to destabilize the Kerensky government. The truth is that the German plan did work, for as soon as he arrived, Lenin began to do what he did best: use oratory to challenge authority and teach about the delights of communism. Lenin initiated an intense communist propaganda campaign in Russia. He saw that the Russians had before them the possibility of establishing the true revolution, destroying the social classes and implementing the ideals of Marxism-Leninism. With Marxism-Leninism gaining strength, Kerensky government became less and less popular among the population, especially when he decided to send more troops to the First World War. Russians were tired of participating in a war that gave no benefits and decided to go out to protest. But the government started a violent repression. Everyone expected Lenin to appear. used his dialectics and deafened the masses, but in reality, he put on a disguise and took a train to Finland. In Russia, the people were not willing to return to the years of Tsarism, so they took up arms and started a new revolution, one that Lenin encouraged from Finland. So in October 1917, we started a new revolution against Kerensky. The revolutionary troops arrived at the Winter Palace with the sole purpose of arresting Kerensky. The plan sounds easier than it was, because the revolutionaries did not count on the 1,500 rooms of the palace. In the end, Kerensky ended up fleeing because they could never find him. What the revolutionaries did find was something better, the Tsar cellar, so the revolutionaries emptied the legendary cellars of the Rovanovs. That night, the whole city celebrated with alcohol in one of the most epic darkness in history. The next day, and no longer in danger, Lenin returned to Russia to consecrate the triumph of the October Revolution. In effect, the new Russia began with a super binge. Lenin and the revolutionaries seized power, distributed land to the peasants, strengthened the Soviets, and started literacy campaigns all over the country. Lenin became a bit intense after his father died of a stroke, and also because of a strong influence of his older brother, who was a member of a radical group. It was his brother Alexander who introduced him to the texts of Marx and communism. However, his influence on Lenin did not last long, as he joined a group of conspirators who planned to assassinate Tsar Alexander III. On May 1st, after a failed attempt, Alexander was imprisoned and later sentenced to death. This, however, changed the young Vladimir Lenin, and his stance against the Russian government became radical. As a university student, Lenin joined radical socialist groups, participated in assemblies and demonstrations, and advocated for the people of Russia, thus beginning his political career. In 1885, Lenin was exiled to Switzerland, where he devoted himself to further study the Marxist position and create communism pamphlets and propaganda. Once in power, Lenin called for free and democratic elections, but his party lost, and as a good leader who listened to the will of his people, he omitted these elections. This is where it got ugly. With the power of his oratory, he convinced the people that he and his party knew what was good for them. Well, his oratory and a little help from the Cheka. The Cheka was a secret police that was in charge of disappearing and imprisoning anyone who opposed Lenin, even a little bit. Now I understand why he got along so well with Mao Zedong. It is estimated that this police was the cause of more than 1 million deaths, only in the years of Lenin's government. The discontent among the population was growing. Some of the non-conformists created the White Army to fight this police and Lenin's allies, who were called the Red Army. Yes, being Russian in those years was very difficult. 2 wars, 2 revolutions, and now a civil war. At the beginning, the White Army won several victories, thanks to the support it received from England, USA, and France, countries that financed it for fear to the advance of communism. The intention of this group was to restore Tsarism, as Lenin's cruelty was excessive. One of the key objectives was the rescue of the Romanov family, who had been held captive in Ekaterinburg since the resignation of the Tsar. However, the outcome was fatal because the Red Army went ahead, only to assassinate the imperial family, while according to the legend, they killed other members except the princess Anastasia, but that is another story. The civil war extended for 2 bloody years, from 1918 to 1921, in which even Lenin was a victim of attacks, which made him more cruel. Finally, in 1921, he overthrew the White Army, thus getting rid of any enemy to implement communism in Russia. After defeating the White Army, Lenin had the way clear to implement communism and lead the USSR to a true proletarian revolution. However, his health did not allow him to see the fruit of his work for more than 4 years, for he died in 1924, thus instrumentalizing the policy of his cult. Perhaps Lenin does not seem as bad as other tyrants we have seen until today. However, his legacy is that his vision of communism was the basis for other more bloody and repressive communist dictatorships, such as that of Mao in China and Stalin himself in Russia. Before we say goodbye, we would like you to tell us your opinion about Lenin's influence on the advance of communism in the world. Thanks for watching me, and find me every day in my reels to get your daily dose culture.